Okay, another one down. This is the Fall of Hyperion book. Review, I guess. Not the book itself, but just finished a little bit ago. And it's probably 3 or 4 days after I finished the first book, which is just Hyperion. And I will say it was a good book, but it wasn't, let's say, I'm just not satisfied. Just not satisfied. There was a whole lot of like the mystery, the build up of Hyperion with it not having an ending. I was so much happier there than I was at the end of Fall, where things have been explained and all these paths have converged, and it's almost like a Snatch movie where everything's winding and people crossing paths and things like this, and it's very heady stuff. um, Poetry like crazy, talks about um, what makes a god, the making of a god, two different ways to go about making a god, the desires of or the reliance of humans on technology, and how that has left us stagnant. Like, there's interesting things here, interesting things for sure. And I and then also there's the ousters, who are the barbarians, but really they're humans without the failings of this crazy technology. They have their own more natural technology. They're more like there's a whole thing about it. I don't know. It went from being new and awesome to being, I wouldn't say awesome, new and interesting, very interesting, to more being like a typical book, typical sci-fi book. And I just felt it to be inferior to other sci-fis of its kind. And I wouldn't say, let's say, Red Rising would be anywhere near this, because Red Rising is fast-paced, meaty, hits hard. Characters are very memorable. Love them. They're great. I love them for that. But it's a wholly different sci-fi than the one by Christopher Rocchio, the Empire of Silence. That's 5 books in right now, and I've read those. And I would say Empire of Silence is far more an equivalent to this in feeling, in tone, how it goes about. And I would say Empire of Silence improves on it and does it better in a lot of ways. And its twists more impactful. It's I see things coming. I don't see things coming in Christopher Rocchio's. I'm not like, all right, let's move on. Let's move on as much, right? I have my own gripes with that series, but um, this one, I don't know. The characters just didn't land with me as much, and I don't really think I liked any of their conclusions, actually. Like, now that I'm thinking out loud. You know how this goes. I'm always thinking out loud while doing this. I don't have any of this stuff written down. I used to have like points written down, but especially for those Wheel of Time ones. But for this, it helps to think it out. I haven't seen any reviews, by the way, for Fall of Hyperion. So this is, and I'm wanting to do that a lot more now. Some I have in the past. I've watched reviews before, and some I haven't. Just, I don't want any of that bleeding over to what I'm thinking. Firstly, I want it to be untainted. And what I'm thinking now, and just realizing, is I don't think I liked any of the endings for any of the characters where they went up. Okay, the consul, cool diplomat, all of his choices, the choices that he made that were very impactful, him being a double traitor, were like almost meaningless, because they were foreseen and countered on by both sides, who he, double crossed. The ousters wanted him to do it, knew he'd do it, and then they tested him. And then Gloria, that's her name, Gloria, right? Gladstone is her last name, the CEO of the Hegemony. Not the Hegemony. what they're called. I'm already forgetting. Whatever. The not the core, the web worlds. I think it's the hegemony. Who knows? Anyways, so the character just feels less impactful and less meaningful. He can play piano really well, and he's got diplomatic skills which aren't really used. Like I didn't see any of those skills put in use as being a diplomat or being. He was like anything. He was just a guy who could play piano that had apparently won over people in the past, like the Ousters. I want to see that story of the console coming in and integrating and getting to know the Ousters and seeing them for a few years, right? I feel like that would be a much better story. And then Hoyt and Father Duray, Hoyt got switched over to Duray because of the cruciform thing, and cool, and it was interesting not seeing Hoyt but having the Father Duray. But I don't know, the religious stuff in this book didn't land with me at all. It was an evolving, God is an evolving being, and then all this heady stuff that I mentioned earlier. I don't know, I just was not incredibly interested by it, to say the least. Then you have the Martin Silenus, the ancient poet guy. He was on a tree most of the time, and he finished his cantos, Hyperion cantos, but it went nowhere. So that's cool. Then you have Brahma, the short yoked chick detective. Her story, her detective story, which had a lot of the cyberpunk stuff, I liked that part the least. Going through the cyber world kind of stuff parts really brought me down, and the AI stuff really brought me down. I'm really uninterested in the AI aspect, actually, very much, and that in this book is a huge part of the book and a huge part of now all of the not all but most of the chapters, since you have a new point of view character, which is another John Keats cybrid, a hybrid of man and machine, basically. Not even a hybrid, yeah, kind of a hybrid of man and machine. Anyways, and there's just so much, and then there's like 3 different layers of the cyber world, the datasphere, metasphere, and something else, and they all were different, and I just didn't care. Like, I really didn't care. I was just like, get through it, like, in detail. Like, the first layer, the datasphere or whatever, is like a city. The next layer up is like a whole biosphere, and all of this is described almost like the Matrix coding, going around to show the cities, the cars, the people, and then the level up, the bugs, the plants, the trees, all. And then the level above that was just like kind of empty. And then you find out where the core is between the far casters, whatever. I just didn't care. I didn't care at all. It just felt like a second rate. Maybe second rate is not the right way, but A tier, B tier, B plus, right? But like a B tier, solid B tier kind of sci-fi, where I saw things coming. I was uninterested in most of it. Yeah, just to say the least. And I'm bagging on it a lot, but I read it pretty quickly, and it was mostly a page turner, and I was getting through it a lot, and I liked how the writing was. It's just I was supremely bored a lot of it. Yeah, there was a section when that actually took everyone by surprise, where the Ousters swarm supposedly were attacking like a dozen different web planets all at once at one time, and then like actually murdering millions of people and billions and destroying worlds. And I was like, oh, this is wild. This is like a huge deal, and I'm very interested in this. And the Ousters are like going in. And I was very interested in like a hegemony that was too reliant on AI and were pretty destructive of worlds and of other life forms, and generally stagnant and not good, versus a versus the Ousters, a more of a caring and humane kind of people who are not as rigid, but they're also like weirdly, they're still humans, but they're now of different forms to, I guess, be more like the environments that they live in, and they look not at all like humans anymore, like Earth humans. Well, the hegemony does, and that gives me a pause from them. But the book shows them as like really as good, and then they're also now being shown though as brutally murdering millions, if not billions. Right? I was like, oh, I like this plan. I want to see how this comes out. But it turns out it was just the techno core, the AI were faking the invasions, and it was just like, okay, I got it, sick. So whatever, whatever. I don't really care about AI, but that's a big part of the story. Anyways, what would I give this book? I'd give it an 80. 80. So what is that? 8.0, whatever my scoring system is. That a low B, yeah, as low B as you can get. All right, I don't know what the next book is going to be, but I hope it's better than this one, not worse.